Let's just bring you a bit of breaking news, which may be of interest to some of you. It's about puberty blockers. Now, these are drugs that are used to delay the changes of puberty in.
All right, before we get too deep in, and Astra, thanks for being here. What do you think about puberty blockers? I understand you're still in high school, so this is something that affects people. Sounds like you got brothers. Just in general,
Yeah.
this is a common person, not being a scientist. What do you think of puberty blockers overall? What they're selling?
Well, I think it's pure evil. I think that just instilling that kind of responsibility onto a young child like that, it's just when you have no future time orientation, you don't understand that most likely this kid's probably going to grow out of what you're calling gender dysphoria.
Right.
And two, obviously, it's immoral and insane. And I think that
do most kids your age think
you're
that?
better off getting your.
I mean, what's the sentiment when when they're not in front of on social media, when they're not in front of a camera and they're talking to their friends? Do they think that, or because a lot of people lie about it because they're afraid to get ostracized?
Oh, well, I know a lot of kids at my school, they do think that it's okay to do that. And honestly, they're everywhere. Like,
all right, so this is Sky News, everybody watching. Elon Musk just posted this. So puberty blockers, Europe's always sort of the test case for this. This just came off the presses.
Transgender youngsters. In terms of how they are prescribed by the NHS, there has been a lot of controversy over the last few years about this. At the moment, they are only prescribed to children attending gender identity services as part of clinical research, and they are not routinely offered to children at gender identity clinics, but they are still offered. Well, the government, NHS England, has just confirmed that children will no longer be prescribed puberty blockers at gender identity clinics. This is coming from NHS England. It just broke in the last few moments.
This is fresh off the presses. I saw Elon posted it. It's fascinating because, Dr. Levine, the transgender stunning and brave, who's
yeah,
Surgeon General, is going around and saying, hey, stop your puberty date. Just start it when you're 20. And just common sense. You don't have to be any kind of educated person.
Oh my gosh, they're not giving children drugs. Everybody clap.
Yeah, so it started interesting too, because the COVID pokes, they stopped doing those with small children in the UK and all over Europe. And we're still doing it to small children as part of the vaccination schedule. Interesting, because these are the first people who kind of pioneered the Tavistock Clinic. They closed that down. Massive lawsuits, even though it's government healthcare. So will it come here? I mean, what do you think? Do you think it'll come here? Will they'll stop doing it to children? I think the answer is no. I don't think it will.
I mean, yeah, and the woke turds, they just love to complain about how this country isn't fully free yet, but they have the freedom to give small children drugs, and they have the freedom to publicly burn an American flag. They have freedom to do all this corrupt stuff, and they still want more. And that's something that I just can't wrap my head around. It's severe mental illness.
Well, the most fascinating thing, and I put this on Locals, is you hear when Roe v. Wade getting turned back to the states. Roe v. Wade was bad law to begin with because it wasn't about abortion, it was about privacy, if you ever read the case. But the point I have to make is they turned it back to the states. Blue states are more liberal, 36-week abortions. Europe, it's 14 weeks. Nearly all of Europe. Every country is different, but I put a map on Locals. You guys should Google it. Abortion restrictions in European countries. Besides China, when they had the one China policy, we are the most radical on abortion in the world, where you can abort a 36-week-old baby without any reason. No death of the mother, no death of the child, no all these things. So you hear a lot of things said, but then you look at the reality of what's going on. You sent me this one. So, of course, it's a stunning and brave Best Among Us with a small child that's being shroomed.
So I put this on YouTube. Brave, burning and stave.
Well, it started with Desmond Amazing. You're probably too young to remember. Good Morning America. Not queer kids. It was trans kids. No, what was it? Drag kids. And Michael Strahan's like, oh my God, this is so amazing. And all the clapping seals in the audience, oh my
Yeah,
God,
it's
so
just
amazing.
it's so sad to see.
All right, let's take a look at this one.
This is the beautiful queen,
No.
Miss OTT. OTT, you look absolutely beautiful tonight. You are the future. You are going to do all the shows.
That dude looks like the penguin from Madagascar.
You're so going to be on Drag Race. I'm not your drag mum, but I'll be like your drag drunk auntie.
You know what I've noticed about all of this? And I try to play devil's advocate, so, well, why not? They're just having fun. It's dressing up, everybody dressed up. But like the Desmond Amazing thing, all these shows, it's like they're at a strip club. They're not normal dancing that you want a 12-year-old to be doing. And therein lies the problem with this stuff is that it seems to be sexualized. Now, you may see this is the one they've allowed. I'll turn the music off. But when you look back at some of Desmond Amazings and lots of these, they're typically at bars that are for men with a rainbow flag across it late at night. And how does somebody justify this in your age group? That's what I'm trying to do is kind of hit the Gen Z bracket. How do the people get by with this? Is like, just do your thing, quit being a boomer, conservative. Is that how they approach it?
I don't know. They usually approach it with like this bias, like, oh, but you guys let them have dance moms and toddlers and tiaras, so what's the difference with this? Obviously, it's all bad, but they just.
Well, think
that's
about
how
dance
I
moms.
normally see it.
If that argument comes up, dance moms, what do we have? We have the mother taking the child. The mother's engaged. The family's engaged with the child. You may hate the toddlers and tiaras and all that. The mother's engaged. Maybe the mother is Munchausen by proxy, whatever, right? But it's the mother engaged. This is not the mother of the child. Doesn't have the best interest of the child at heart. Could be the best among us. I doubt it. I guess my point is when the parents engaged, and maybe they're doing it for themselves because they were the ugly duckling and the kid's cute. They want them to be the beauty queen. The mother is still engaged with the family. These things never are like that. They never seem to be that way. You always see some strange third party with a small child dancing in front of an audience of clapping seals. All right, this is what we talked about this one. When you hear queer kid stuff, and I think I mentioned to you before on Twitter, you mentioned, I think you've seen it. I want to get people, not what you think per se, but your peers, because you seem like you're looking at both sides of this argument. This queer kid stuff all over YouTube Kids.
Welcome to Queer Kid Stuff. I'm Lindsay, and this is my best friend, Teddy.
Okay.
Today, we're talking about the T in LGBT.
All right, so I hear their stupid song.
Today, we are talking about the fourth letter.
All right, so clearly it's gauged towards people who have a teddy bear. We're not talking teenage girls. It's geared towards small children, right? So what do your peers think about this? I guess, what do you think and what do your peers think? Again, is this just what's the big deal, buddy? Kind of attitude?
I mean, normally they just come to this conclusion that like, oh, it's good for children to learn about different kinds of people. They have this argument. It's like, oh, different kinds of families, because, you're going to run into these kinds of people. Yeah, obviously you're going to run into these kinds of people. I don't see that it's necessary to tell that to a 4-year-old. Also, she was allowed to create a non-binary character for Paw Patrol. This girl right there.
Right.
And
if a kid today sees Joey's got 2 mommies, 2 daddies, right? The kid's already indoctrinated with the season nonstop. The kid's not gonna have somebody at home saying Joey's 2 daddies are going to hell, most likely. The kid's gonna go, oh, okay, Joe's got 2 daddies. I just know I had 2 girls, and when it came up, I said, yeah, just 2 moms, and I would even get into the details because it didn't matter at that point in time when they were small enough to still grab a teddy bear. There was no reason to discuss it. And the kid's like, well, I just like my friend Sally. That's all. I go, okay. Sally's got 2 moms or 2 dads. In other words, there was no discussion. There was no reason for a discussion because the kid ultimately, if you just said, yeah, there's 2 moms. Now, when they got older, and they want to get to the bird, they start thinking about it. When the birds and the bees discussion came up, normally they kind of worked through it with their own friends. They didn't, it was very simple. It wasn't complicated where you needed this whole queer
Yeah.
kid stuff.
Like this whole PSA or whatever, it's just not needed. We could all live without it. But I mean, they
Well, and these
just
people
care
all
about
have
two
backing
things,
of
money and
PBS money.
degeneracy, so.
It's PBS,
Yeah.
like Jeffrey, they, them, Jeffrey. He's had a PBS show, Amazon
Jeffrey
Books,
Marsh, oh
Apple
gosh.
Books. So it's
Lord's
the same thing.
depiction of
Because in the best part about this, if you go to the comments, you can't have comments. Now, why? Because it's for kids. They don't even allow comments. And this is where the genesis of it starts. I want to let it play a little bit and then get your take on.
Yeah.
These are the people, the result of education that is so liberal that now the teachers are lunatics.
Let's have a conversation about teaching LGBTQ plus inclusion in classrooms. Now, one of the things that myself and other queer teachers have noticed is that a lot of the labor of teaching this, of hosting the clubs and all these things falls on the out and queer teacher at the school. And I say out because obviously there are a lot of people that teach that are not going to share that.
What do you, here's my thing, and I want to ask you this because maybe I don't get it. What do you teach here? So if you're in your formative years, you developed your adolescence, your puberty, you determine, okay, I'm a boy, I'm attracted to boys. What do you have to teach them? That's the part I'm missing here. So if you're straight, you're a girl likes boys, what are you teaching in this class that I'm missing here? Because people have been gay for eons and there's no teaching involved. So that's, I mean, what are they teaching?
They're teaching grooming. I mean, how I see it is they're taking that one little mental problem that the kid may or may not have, either that or trying to give it to them, and then using that as just a topic of discussion over and over so that they can get them obsessed with this and obsessed with this kind of degeneracy, and then they take them away from their parents. And I don't know. It seems like that's always the end goal. Like they always go no contact with families. They always tell them to do that, and I don't see.
Well, this one's a high school teacher, so it's perfect timing. Like your parents don't understand you. Person's in puberty, boys in particular, lots of testosterone makes you angry and I want to listen.
You'll never understand me, Mom.
Yes, exactly. And so the teacher's like, I understand you. We can be friends. Instead of saying to yourself as you're 15 or 14, wow, this is awkward. The 25-year-old teacher was my friend. What a dork. That's what I would have thought when I was in school. I'd have been like, oh my God, this teacher's a total loser. Why didn't they be friends with me? You should have grown past that. That's exactly when I see these people. I think if a teacher did this, I'd be like, okay, we're trying to skeeve with the young boys or girls. Just like get a life. I mean, but yet now this is acceptable.
But if it were anyone else, if it were anyone else that didn't have a rainbow flag in their room.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If it was a straight,
it'd be considered really weird because it is.
If it was a 23-year-old really strapping PE teacher and he taught, say, history, period. And he's like, hey, straight people are having a party. It was like, really, hey, we can talk about it. And they get into graphic details about, how they do things often. You've seen those things that came out from James O'Keefe and these principles and about things they pass around in class and what they talk about. It's just like if I had a son, I took him to a strip club. I'd say, well, I'm affirming his gender. It's a strip club. So what do you lap dance? People think you're rightfully so that I'm a lunatic. This gets a pass for some reason.
Get their little Twitter minions to come and attack you. It's the same every time.
Well, and what happens on a grander scale is like in your channel, I'll put Astra's stuff at the bottom here. She's got a YouTube channel, does well. Once you get a modicum of success, if you use any striking words, they take you out of the discussion because they don't want you connecting with people. And, ODIN'S men is 40% women. Lots of people that are rainbow of some type. And they came because, they see something they can agree with or disagree, but it gives them something to think about. They don't want people thinking about anything but what's allowed. And that is terrifying. Let's keep going with this one.
A part of them. And that is totally fine and valid. This, though, is where I have a problem with all of this. The labor should not be put on queer teachers to do all this. When we say inclusive curriculum, we mean the entire curriculum in every single classroom, K through 12.
How do you teach inclusive math? Like there's 2 queer men and 2 queer men. How many queer men? I mean, what do you do? Ultimately, and you're focused so much on your sexuality, which effectively is about sex, it's too much for young people. And if they are teenagers, be like, I got this figured out, teach. I don't need your help to sort through this mess. What could they talk about? You're in school. What could you talk about for, say, 6 or 7 classes that incorporated LGBTQ? I mean, seems nearly impossible.
Well, I mean, this doesn't exactly have to do with LGBTQ, but they'd probably learn about just slavery in the hall again and again and again. That's normally how it went. And also, I don't know, they try to make this made up queer history. Like,
Yeah, the history is rich, and they've done it. Every one of these victim groups,
yeah.
they kind of rewrite history, and it becomes so ridiculous that you're like, and you develop a generation like your age that rebels even further. They go, they're lying to us nonstop, and there's like the mega red pill people that you just can't take anymore. And that's what I'm seeing now. When I meet young people, they do have the talking points. My daughter's in their mid-20s. When they got out of college, they had the talking points down, like you have entitlement, you have privilege, you were privileged, you know, all those talking points from college. I'm like, wow, where'd you pick this dumb shit up? Let's keep going.
So if you are a teacher,
Well,
it's
I
very
mean,
important that you start looking
Hold
at
on,
your
what are you
curriculum
saying?
and ask.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, you could slap a label on yourself and call yourself marginalized these days. All you have to do is use airs pronouns, and then people will be like, "Oh, it's a queer. Oh, come with us. You're part of our community."
Eventually, there's going to be groups of one because people have segmented themselves so far into groups. Like, you know, the victim hierarchy. I think Matt Walsh did it. You know, what's the pyramid look like of the most victimized person in America who you can't talk about? And if you do talk about it, it's a hate crime. You know, when I was demonetized, it said for being hateful and harmful. I never had one video. They said, okay, this is the video. They just said, we don't like you picking on people getting any traction. We're sick of paying you a lot of
Mm.
money to get people that agree with you because the group of people I had were the 25 to 45 demo. I guess my point is to extrapolate that into a bigger sphere. Without a bunch of lawyers, you can't talk about this.
Asking yourself, where am I including LGBTQ plus voices? Where am I not including them? And why have I not made that effort? There's so many resources out there now. Definitely go check them out. What question?
There is so many resources. Why do you have to talk about it nonstop? I mean, that's my question. If there's resources, kids like you were brought up with this from day one. And if your
Mhm.
parents weren't radically one way or the other, you just had formed your opinion. You're watching television. There's 2 men kissing, 2.5 men, whatever the shows were. And you were accustomed
Buzz
to it on television.
Lightyear.
Yeah, you were accustomed to it. It was normal. And so you don't have
Mhm.
any preconceived negative notions unless this is the left's argument. Well, you have parents, they're mega Christian conservatives. Okay, but again, you're going to form your own opinion because it's forced on you all the time. Now, you sent me this one, and it seems like all of these companies, you know, no matter how you slice it, the white man's always the moron in these events. But let's take a look at this one.
New Aveeno Kids, created for big kids' sensitive skin and still developing hair. It's easy squeezy. I can do it because every can-do moment leads to another. A ballerina.
Oh,
Awesome.
wow.
Right.
Aveeno Kids. I can do it.
Now, the argument would be,
Nice.
we want your kid to feel comfortable doing anything, but when you jam a dress on a young boy all the time, then the young boy goes, plays with other young boys, and they make fun of him because that's what young boys do.
That's
You've
that's
developed this
just
problem.
that's just humiliating, and not humiliating in the sense that he's gonna go to school and people are gonna point and laugh and be like, haha, little Johnny's wearing a dress. No, because they probably will, but humiliating in a sense that it's like they feel that inside. They see that and they know that something is wrong, that they're not supposed to be wearing that. I mean, some of them like wearing it, but most
Well,
of
think what
them are
happens.
just
You're with your parents.
vegan cats.
Yeah, they're helicopter parents. You put the dress on, mommy smiles, daddy, your 2 daddies smile. Big grin ear to ear. They can sense the affection. You know, kids can sense that. And small children. So the kid goes, wow, when I do this subconsciously, my two daddies are really excited about this. So I'm going to put more of it on. And they play along. It's like Stockholm syndrome. And
Yeah,
then
they're
they get
doing a victory
older.
lap to demoralize us.
Then they get older. They go, I was lied to. I like girls and I look weird. What was I doing? And then you end up with, oh God, this is one thing I don't understand. Is this predominant in your school? We have these
Oh, this one.
LGBTQ, these school clubs. Is this a prominent thing?
Yes. Sometimes they're called the GSAs, like Gay Straight Alliance.
Oh, so they package them up that way, where it's like, I don't know why that's like means
Yeah,
everybody, right?
they're these little clubs. Yeah, they're these little clubs where they have like the pride flags in there, and they give you like, I don't know, ice cream and pizza. That's the one we had in the middle school, and they would just sit there talking to you about this degeneracy, and basically it was like a safe space for marginalized groups. And
I don't know what they can talk about. Like we had clubs, and it was kind of once a semester. I don't know, whatever. It wasn't often. There was clubs, and you just go basically jerk around. You weren't doing anything. What could you talk about? What I don't understand is what you talk about for an hour. Okay, it's a safe space for you. Got it. Then what? I mean, you go, I like boys. I'm a boy. Okay, you're a young man who's gay. Got it. Now what? It seems like there's not a lot to talk about here. But yet there's a club for it.
exactly.
It's like, I feel like a girl and I'm a boy. Okay, got it. But I still like you. Let's talk about something else. What you like to do in your free time. I don't know what they can talk about that long, but they can just brainwash you. And
Because
say
they don't
everybody's
have
against you.
personalities.
Let's take a look at this one. Of course, a teacher.
LGBTQ club. What's her name? Hannah Watson. No one named Hannah Watson attends the LGBTQ club. Call down and check, please. Hi, Ms. Grayson. Does a Hannah Watson attend your LGBTQ club? Okay, thank you. Well, no one by the name of Hannah Watson attends the LGBTQ club. Fine. Have you checked the Bible study club? That's where she's supposed to be. She's probably there. Why don't you head down there and I'll buzz you in? Okay. Ms. Grayson, send Quinn to the room where the Bible study meets. Her mom is heading down there right now.
Nice.
Does my daughter attend this school's LGBTQ club? What's her name?
All right, so you see what
Oh,
happens?
gosh.
She's like,
I mean,
oh, she's at the
imagine
Bible club.
just
Hide it from the mother. Say she's at the Bible.
yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah. I mean, imagine just going to your kid's school and trying to just go and pick her up from supposedly learning about Jesus. But then she comes to the school counselor and says, "Screw you, I'm living my truth. I don't want to learn about how a Messiah went and saved us. Ew, that's boring. I'm living my truth. I want to sit in a room where there's a bunch of colored stripes and we have Dana Terrace talking to us about stuff while Joe Biden's unhinged speech is in the background or something." I don't know.
You know, I can tell you, looking back now, I played sports. I'd be what consider the jock crowd. I don't know. We were trolls before there was trolls. Okay, there was no internet. If there was pizza and all this stuff at the club, we would all went. Like me and 3 or 4 of my boys that went there and ate every piece of pizza, ate all the ice cream, and be like sat there just cutting up. That's what would have happened. Now, if you do that today, you'd be kicked out of school for some reason. They'd be like, "Oh my God, that's a hate crime." So you'd go there and say, "Well, you're not gay." I'd say, "Prove it. I'm not gay. We're all gay." We just would have been busting up because it's so ridiculous. Now, I can't imagine you could do that today. You'd probably be kicked out of school. You're like, "Well, how do you know I'm not gay?" And like, well, I'd say that with my boys. I would walk in and say that just because there was free food. I mean, I don't know. Okay, this is another one you sent me. Let's look at this. Telling my trans daughter about some of the bills introduced in Iowa in just for first few weeks of the session.
Yeah, that's a boy.
Oh, is it a boy? I thought it was a little girl. I can't
That's a
even tell.
boy.
Okay.
Yeah,
When
they
they're
make it so confusing for us.
Well, when they're this age,
and they'd be proud of that too.
yeah, when they're this age, until you see them move and function and talk, I didn't hear them talk yet. It's challenging because people are very androgynous because they haven't hit puberty yet for the most part. Boys and girls are different. So I haven't seen this one. You're making the kid freaked out. Even if there was legislation in Iowa, let's listen to it, but you're freaking the kid out.
This is so entirely wrong and bad. I don't get how someone can get this mad at just being who we are. Like, that just sounds very simple, but that sentence, like, be who you are, that is such, like, I don't even, they're trying to take away.
Well, who you were born as a young boy. That's who you are. I mean, I don't know, be who you are, except, I was born this way, except
know,
if you're born
just
this
like-
way.
Yes, son, if you want to be who you are, then maybe stop listening to those two Finnish people that are your dads. Dads, right?
Yeah, well, interesting enough that we just saw in the beginning, the UK said no more hormone blockers. Sorry, we're not doing that. The whole country.
As they should.
And now we've got these kids. This never was an issue 3 years ago. That why would you tell your kid? Let's just go on the path. As a parent, I think about this. So my kid, I really think is transgender. I'm in a state that's going to disallow them getting hormones from a doctor in that state. Get a mail order. I mean, give me a break, but that's how it would work. Let's just say you couldn't get them even mailed in. All right. Why would I tell my kid that? You freak the kid out. I just find a new mechanism. I drive across the border or get him shipped to me like most people do and solve the problem. I want to freak my kid out.
Yeah, you're giving your kid anxiety for no reason, for something that
Right.
they shouldn't even.
It's not a kid problem. The legislation's not a kid problem.
I don't know what kind of gay math equation they were doing in their heads, but this is just not it.
Let's keep going.
Our pride. I don't get how people could be this wicked. Oh my god.
They're also trying to have a bill
Okay,
that
that's
would make people argue and learn that gender affirming care is wrong and dangerous. Like that. Not that you.
I was just listening to something. I want to get your take on it. The person's like, I have to get my grades up so I get my learner's permit, right? 15-year-old. So we don't let kids even get behind the wheel of a car without their mommy and daddy at 15 until they're 16. It's somehow or the other, the kid knows they want to block their hormones. It's a fascinating timeline that people say that. Does that ever come up amongst your peer groups? Like, they're young kids. How would they know? They changed their mind.
Unfortunately, a lot of people my age just don't think like that. They like to focus on the moment and they like the movement. So if people who are helping these marginalized groups, that's all they're thinking about right now, because they're not as responsible to actually care for this kid, because teens only focus on themselves.
Right. And of course,
That's the sad truth.
That's a good point. I would think, I'm trying to think back to when I was a teen a long time ago. But if I said, boy, I really like this activity when I was 8, I like this at 9, I like something different at 10. So I changed my mind. But you're right. They're focused on themselves. I think you said it's something really important. You go, they're focused on the movement. The movement's fun. Hey, here's some pizza and ice cream. Come to the movement, carry a flag. They make it fun. They draw you in to the movement, but they don't care about the people because they're not involved with the movement. They're not subject to this. They're not taking hormone blockers.
Yeah, there's like either the superhero mentality or the victim mentality. They want to be one or the other. They want to either be this big ally that's like, oh, I'm helping them. I'm helping the POC community. I'm helping the LGBT community. I'm helping this. I'm helping that. I'm a good person for that. Or I'm so oppressed. I've been through so much and I want to be saved. The two liberal mindsets.
Yeah, unfortunately, these young people in particular, are exposed to so much so fast with the cell phone, the internet. That's not going away, but we didn't get exposed to things as fast in my generation. I'm in my 50s, so it took a long time to get exposed to things, and you kind of built up a little bit of, you were older, you could look at it differently. Then now kids at their fingertips have things they shouldn't see at the phone. And you wonder why I have this incel phenomenon, these men that can't speak to young women. They're so busy looking at, bad sites on the internet, I'll call it. And they never learn how to develop a skill, how to interact with a young girl they may like. So it's very sad is what it is to watch.
Yeah. And on the internet, there's just a lot of stuff that children shouldn't be seeing. On YouTube Kids even, there's this kind of degeneracy and there's just kind of perversion in general Like there are these videos with like weird foot fetishes, weird pregnant fetishes. I don't know why kids are watching that on YouTube Kids, but and also there are other shows that are like Big Mouth, right? You made a video on Big Mouth, not a video on it. You talked about Big Mouth, right? I had a Big Mouth phase in middle school, and everybody was watching it, and everybody in my class watched it. Everybody in my school watched it. They were all talking about this show, and now it kind of traumatized me. It's like there are literal scenes of the kids having sexual intercourse, and I just
some of these
yes,
things,
it's a adult show, but it can fly under the radar as a kids show because it's about kids, and also it's for kids. It's an adult show, but it's also for kids. It's for kids going through puberty, and they even admit that, like in the one that you saw, that was like, that's why they made the effing show. That's basically what they were saying.
Well, when there's been movies I've been to when my kids were small, I'd watch it. There's some adult humor there the kids wouldn't pick up on. And it would be like innuendo. Now, looking back on it, but it wasn't so much. It was just rare, like Doctors, or what was it? The Cat in the Hat with Mike Myers was one. I remember being at the movie theater with my kids, and they weren't old enough to pick up on the innuendo. Now, it was never innuendo that was rainbow. It was innuendo about other things. Often sexualized innuendo, but it was just, you kind of, as a parent, you sit there and go, well, the kid's not going to keep up with this. But it wasn't nonstop. That's the thing. When you get it pushed into your head nonstop, and there's always an agenda, you're always sexualizing an event. It seems like at some stage it becomes too much. People with these masks on.
Oh.
You sent me this one. I haven't watched it, but I figured let's listen. Let's go.
Okay. Can someone please tell me what about how I look right now makes you think I'm a girl?
Everything. I mean, I don't even have to. I can hear you talk. I look at your face, your facial features, right? The whole thing. It's just like your instincts.
Down,
like,
the pressed down chest.
I mean, the whole thing.
The haircut, the earrings, the necklace, the other necklace, the bracelet, the other bracelet, the belt, I think.
Yeah, that's
I don't
a good
know.
point. Yeah, the hands are always a tell, right? For me, hands, because women,
the glasses frame
have smaller hands, just they got fat hands. Even then, they look like fat women hands. But there's always a tell because you've got instincts. Like I can look at you. I did one interview with Rachel, who I honestly, she was trans. I had no idea. I thought I was being trolled, and asked my wife to look. She goes, and then when I was talking to Rachel, she put her neck up. She goes, "Here's my Adam's apple." I go, "Oh, like that's a very infrequent thing." She was small, tiny, always androgynous. That's just a rarity. Like, you don't see many people, having been around the world in different places. It's a very small percentage of people, really hard to tell. And usually it's prepubescent. But these people are just mind-numbing. It's shocking that...
No, these people are just trend followers. Sometimes they're trendsetters because they like to create their own genders a lot of the time, their own pronouns. Like, you've seen that girl, right? You've seen that girl, the lesbian Snow White, who would come up with these neo-pronouns.
Yeah,
Barbie self-pronouns,
yeah.
and dinosaur self-pronouns. Like that's what they like to do because they're so bored. They don't have fathers.
Yeah, well, that is a big problem. The internet is their mommy and daddy. And when you outsource your parenting to the internet, you got a problem. So let's keep going. I see these often on, on Twitter, and it'll be like, identify as a man. Why are people messing up?
Also, they were in lockdown for 2 years.
Yeah, if I kept calling you, I saw you, and you're friends with my kids, and I kept calling you, hey, I don't know, I misgendered you. Pick a time I use a pronoun. And I did it 1,000 times. And everybody did that to you. You have to go, well, I guess I identify or pass as whatever people are calling me. They're not doing it because they hate me. They're just doing it to get my attention because they need to speak with me. So that would be odd, right? And you see people, everyone misgenders me all the time. I go, they don't care about you enough to do it on purpose. They don't care about you. I mean, let's keep going on this one.
Yeah, they
don't even think about the voice.
I have so many friends like
just.
Yeah, friends like this.
No, I have so many. Yeah, I do. Well, I had friends like that. I don't talk to them anymore, but I had friends like that, and basically they would be like, "Oh yeah, you should go to someone and ask them the pronouns that they use first before referring to them as he or she." And it's like, no, I'm gonna call them what they look like. I don't care that much. Thank you. Come again. You got served.
Well, it's going to be impossible. It's like when I talked to Buck Angel and Blair White. I've never met either of them, but I see what I see on the screen, right? My brain just instinctually goes for Blair White to she, because I look at that image, right? I look at the same with Buck. Now, I know that they're trans. They don't say they're anything but a DNA man, a DNA woman. I know that, but my mind goes into it. You know, you haven't seen the movie. I think it was Dumb and Dumber, you know, with Jim Carrey when he was funny. And they're walking down the road and they go, look at the rear on that. And they turn around and there's some guy in tight jeans because they saw the back. It could have been a woman, you know, but you see the face and you go, okay, that is that's a man right there. So it's instinctual. You know, you can't, if you said my pronouns, you right now on the screen, you said, I see him. I go, I'm probably going to mess that up. I just think like with Dylan, I called Dylan because I can't ever get that because I see a man. So trying to take that.
My pronouns are Chad self.
Yeah. I mean,
I am Tim. I am Chad. And you shall refer to me as strong and handsome.
Yeah, it's let's keep going with this chubby lesbian.
Today, like before even hearing my voice, they called me a she. So like, what about how I look right now would make someone think that I'm a girl? Please.
You know what this reminds me of? I don't know if you experienced this, but people in the audience will appreciate this. The girl you break up with, and she goes, well, what was it? And you go, there's like 4 or 5 things floating around your head. And you end up going, well, it's this right here. Really, it's all this. Like, it's not one thing. It's a culmination of things. It's like this person. It's probably not one thing that makes you think it's a woman. It's just all of it. Like, you just rattled off the bracelets, the glasses, the body type below the belt is very typical. I mean, the whole thing. I mean, all of it is why you identify as a woman to me.
These women want to look like twinks. These women want to look like twinks.
Well, this one just reminds me of run-of-the-mill biker bar lesbian chick.
It's driving me fucking crazy.
Yeah, she looks like she says, "Oh, don't touch my medicine
cabinet." I'm about to start HRT.
Yeah.
I'm raising money for that, so like Cash App in my bio. But like,
Let's break this down. Really important. I think it's very critical. You hear this? She's raising money for HRT. Okay. This is really, really simple. So she wants to take testosterone and an anastrozole or letrozole. Okay, letrozole is something they give to women.
By the time she's 50, if she does that, she will not be able to stand up.
Right. So what will happen?
Put that out there.
But let me talk about. She's raising money. She says, right? People just in the audience go, "Well, it must be expensive, right?" A bottle of testosterone should last this person 20 weeks is about $80. Letrozole, which they give to breast cancer patients to stop their estrogen, which she would take, you can get generic. So like a year's supply for maybe $80. In other words, we're talking the whole year, $300, maybe. She's raising money. So either she's lying or she's clueless or both. In other words, you walk into the pharmacy, no insurance, and that's what it would cost. So this isn't a hard thing, but they lie and people don't ever call them out and they lie like, I'm raising money. There's no expense here because the drug that stops all estrogen, in particular letrozole is a real strong one. It's for breast cancer patients. Is not expensive, generic. It's a pill you take once a day to stop. I mean, that's a crazy. When I hear this, I go, "You're lying."
Doing everything I possibly can. I'm binding. I got my trans flag necklace. Like, what else could I do?
Not with a trans flag necklace. I see that and I go, "Oh, I thought it was a guy," but the trans necklace on. I don't know what it is. It's a woman.
Yeah, like I mean real men don't go around with these little cotton candy necklaces.
Right. Yeah, that would be a guy.
You're not gonna look at that and think, that's a handsome, manly man. Like who is gonna do that?
Well, and
binders damage your lungs. Just gonna put that out there.
Well, the binders, I mean, the whole thing is stupid. Let me pull this up real quick while you're sitting here. You see this on Twitter? Ali London of all people, because I did a video with Ali.
We do not do that here.
With Ali, who used to be identified as a female Korean, I don't know if you remember Ali London, but all of a sudden Ali went all mega MAGA, you know.
No, that's what she wants to look like. Yeah, that's what she wants to look like.
Yeah. God, this is.
I mean,
trying to see if I can
again,
find.
don't touch my medicine cabinet.
I don't know where this ends when they're just. Oh, here's the one you were just talking about. Let me bring her up for this point. This is why I did a video.
Pronouns, that sounds so cool. Frog is such a great person. Frog's smile is so contagious. In fact, I saw Frog make a whole audience smile. I think Frog should be.
I don't know what you do for a living. I could see OF or something. Like, I don't know what she does because there's no money. There's no money on TikTok.
And very bored.
There's no money on TikTok. People think there's money. There's money on YouTube, and that's it. Unless Rumble gives you a deal.
Unless you're like Charlie D'Amelio, then
yeah, I mean, if
you're not going to make a living off of this.
Yeah,
stuff.
if you're pitching, okay, I want to see what. Let's land the plane on this. I did this in a video today, I think, and somebody asked me, "What's the first thing?" It was on Twitter. What's the first thing you think when you see this? The man, the sign, both. What do you think?
White guilt, and he's whipping himself, saying, "I hate white people. I hate us."
Do you think he does that just because he wants attention? He's a dork, or he really feels that way?
Definitely. He also he might have a fetish for black women. I'm not sure.
I've known
definitely
white women who've talked like they talk really big, like they feel guilty and all this nonsense, and they get in their Lexus behind their gated communities, and they say, "Oh my God, I saw a black guy mowing the lawn next door," and they freak out. I see this, and I had words for it. I don't know if I put it on Twitter. I don't even want to say it here, but if I saw this person, I just don't. Like, do you have any soul left? Do you have any opinion? Do you hate yourself?
No. I mean, also he might be a fellow white, if you know what I mean. That might be the case.
I mean, here's the thing
or
again.
He's just
you'll see people who say, "I'm not white, I'm fill in the blank." I go, well, guess what? You identify as white because you look white to me. It's like if a woman says, "I'm a man, but I see you're a woman." So when people say, "Well, I'm part Native American, I'm part whatever, I stay with Israel," well, you pick it. I go, I'm looking right at you. You look like a white guy. So that's what you are. Because no one else judges you. Because the point of the victim card is, look at me. People judge me because of my victim status. But if I can't tell your victim
it's
status,
just this crackhead like, oh, abolish whiteness, abolish white. You're already white and do crack too.
Like you could be a quarter Native American. I go, you look like a white girl to me. Sorry, it doesn't count. So it doesn't matter unless I can look at you. And the point of the victim card is I look at you and I'm judging you for that look and I'm shitting on you. That's the point. So this guy could be whatever, but I'm going, you're a white dude. And he's probably going to say, no, I'm not. I'm XYZ. And we go, well, you don't look like it. You may be that, but no one's judging
that
you.
You're 99% white with a 10% glass of milk. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah. I mean, this was a big run after St. Floyd tragically passed away by the evilness of the white man in Minneapolis. So it's a fascinating timeline. Well, everybody, I'll leave Astra's Cringe Panda's links below. And thanks for your time.